the Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts. All season long, we've been talking about the Titans. Once Derrick Henry went out, we were all pretty low on them, but they've shocked all of us, really being resurgent and resilient. Despite all their injuries, they have come to play, and they are now leading the AFC. And with a win against Houston in Week 17, they will finish first in the conference and get that bye week, which is huge because Derrick Henry is slated to come back. But you also have the Colts, who are 9-7, who they've went on a little run this season. And Drew, that was your Super Bowl pick. You picked the Colts to make it out of the AFC. So now this is my question to you two guys, and I'm going to start with you, Joe. Who do you believe in more, the Titans or Colts? Because you're not getting left off the hook either, because you also were on board with Drew in terms of the Colts being one of your picks to potentially go to the Super Bowl.
Sleeper, yes. They were one of my sleeper teams, but the question last week was, will they? I said no. Drew said yes. So just want to, cross a line there. I don't think they're going. They're a sleeper team. That doesn't necessarily mean I think they're going to go. I don't think the Titans are going to go either. But who do I believe in more? How do I not pick the Titans, who are 6-2 against teams over 500? They've beaten the Colts twice already. They have wins over the Bills, Chiefs, Rams, 49ers, and Drew's red-hot Dolphins. Their resume stacks up with just about anybody in the NFL. Joel, you tweeted it today or yesterday. Mike Vrabel, arguably coach of the year. It will probably go to LaFleur. He's going to have the best record, but Titans are possibly going to have the 1 seed. They have a big game against Jacksonville this week. They actually haven't beat Jacksonville, and I want to say 5 or 6 games while they're on the road. One of those games was in London, but it's been a while since they've went into Jacksonville and won a game. Now, I think they'll do it finally because they're going to be huge favorites. They have a lot to go for them. But when I look at this Titans team, they've won the best deep threats in the league with A.J. Brown. I feel like we talked about the Titans a lot this last month or so. And even though Derrick Henry has been out and he practiced today, there's a possibility he plays this week. If not, he should be more than fine for the playoffs. Depending if they get a bye or not, I think he'll play no matter what. But even with Henry out, they've been just about the same. With Henry in the lineup, they have 219 attempts, 937 yards, 10 touchdowns, averaging 4.3 a carry. Without Henry in the lineup, 229 attempts, 985 yards, 6 touchdowns, again, 4.3 yards per attempt. Obviously, having Derrick Henry in the lineup, it's going to change things. Statistically, it looks about the same, which means the productivity over a 6-game sample is somewhat replaceable. But Henry being in the game, it adds a whole nother element. D'Onta Foreman has done well in his limited touches. I don't trust him over a full season, obviously not to do any sort of, be able to replicate what Derrick Henry is going to do. And I got to give a little credit to Tannehill too. I know he's coming off a bad game. There's one quarterback who I've been out on. He had 120 yards, bro. It wasn't a great game. He managed the game, I understand. It wasn't
a bad game. He threw 2 touchdowns with no picks. He managed the game. He didn't throw any interceptions. How was that a bad game?
Fine.
You said that he's coming off a bad game.
In
the rain.
He was fine. But
inclement weather.
The 3 points. The Dolphins scored 3 points.
Inclement weather.
I understand that.
What are we talking about here?
I get a lot of hate, especially from Serge, about Wentz. Man. But, if you trust Wentz, how do you not trust Tannehill? Even though Wentz is in a better position with the better offensive line, the Titans actually have the 30th ranked offensive line. He doesn't really have that much better stats.
Pass protection wise,
comparing him to Ryan Tannehill. Yes, pass protection wise. We're talking about Tannehill. That's what I'm looking for right now. Tannehill has a higher completion percentage, more yards, only 3 less total touchdowns. Yes, the one thing is Tannehill has 8 more interceptions than Wentz, but he only has 3 more turnover-worthy plays. He's just been a little bit unlucky this year, and Tannehill's been sacked 20 more times. So I look at this team. You're getting Derrick Henry back. You're already beaten the Colts twice this season. For me, it's pretty easy. I think their defenses are about average. Darius Leonard's he's not going to win Defensive Player of the Year, but he's been one of the best linebackers in the game this year and really since 2018. The ability for him just to play sideline to sideline, force fumbles, interceptions. He's really been one of the best defenders in the league. But I'm looking at both of these teams. It's really hard for me to pick the Colts.
Oh my God!
Tell you what, I'm tired of hearing this turnover-worthy plays. Enough. Okay, I get it.
Why?
It's a good stat in terms of we get the grand scheme of things, but then we're looking at elite talent and just saying that they're not. They should be turning the ball over more. That
are Wentz or Tannehill elite?
I'm just not saying that. I'm just saying in general. You look at we scrutinized Mahomes a few weeks ago with his turnover worthy plays, but do we really care about that truthfully, given the fact that he's still doing what he's doing?
I care more about them because Mahomes had a ton last year that didn't turn into interceptions. And he has a ton this year that have turned into interceptions. So I think it's a little more sticky year to year than just regular interceptions.
I understand the whole sentiment of it. I just don't like it, given the fact that it didn't happen. It's not concrete. Ultimately, we're talking about something.
But if a receiver drops a ball and the DB intercepts it, why is that a quarterback fault? Why should that be on the quarterback?
I agree with that to a degree. But that being said, what does that matter to? Ultimately, it's a play that happened that the defense made.
Okay, you both are having you both make some great points. I'm gonna
that's just it. I apologize. I got a little off topic.
I'm gonna side with Joel here. I think turnover worthy plays is a very useful stat. But what I will say is that you have a knack for disrespecting good quarterbacks. First, it was Matt Ryan, who's a former league MVP. Listen, you got to get your brain checked out now, bro. And then you're talking about Ryan Tannehill, 17. Who, for one, Ryan Tannehill, by all intents and purposes, is a Manahill. And two, he's been rated as a top 8 quarterback in the past 2 seasons. Before this,
when did I disrespect Tannehill?
You were just disrespecting Tannehill.
Joel, you've been disrespecting Tannehill over the last few weeks, saying how he's regressed since last year, regardless of what the
me?
Yeah, but yes,
I definitely have. But the situation matters. I definitely have. But I'm just saying, Joe wants to come in here and bring his, all this advanced stats with his glasses, PFF. Well, we understand you have a PFF membership, all right? All right? We do too. This is what I want to say, because Drew, I know you're going to pick the Colts unless I am missing something. I'll let you speak. But when talking about the Titans, you talk about Matt LaFleur being coach of the year. Matt LaFleur deserves coach of the year. But should he win it? Absolutely not. Mike Vrabel is the coach of the year. The Titans are 11-5. They have played a record 88 players this season and are 1 win away from solidifying and having the first seed in the AFC with the bye week. Despite Derrick Henry's injury, they have been able to win games and have similar production from Deontay Foreman. They are 6-1 as underdogs this season. They have beaten the Chiefs, the Bills, the Red Hot Dolphins, like you've mentioned, the Colts twice. The resume speaks for itself. And before Mike Vrabel arrived in Tennessee in 2018, the Titans made the playoffs once in 9 years. And they have now had 4 consecutive winning seasons, 3 consecutive trips to the playoffs, and 2 consecutive division titles. I understand the coach of the year is not a resume award. It's what have you done this season. But based on what Mike Vrabel has been given this season with A.J. Brown, Julio, in and out of the lineup, and Julio not even giving you Julio production, Derrick Henry out, playing a record 88 players, and still being 11-5, and most likely finishing first in the AFC, Mike Vrabel is 100% the coach of the year. No doubt about it. And to answer the question, I
agree.
To answer the question, I trust Tennessee. I trust Tennessee more than the Colts, without a doubt. But the Colts and the Titans are very similar. They both don't have great pass blocking offensive lines. They both are very run-oriented. The Colts just don't have weapons on the outside. The Titans do. They have a little bit more with AJ and Julio. Maybe he could even be a glimpse of himself, just a little bit of sparkle of himself. And then on defense, they have similar personnel. Their defensive fronts are really good. Their secondary they have good players, but they're shaky. I think what sets the Colts and the Titans apart is that Kevin Byard is their safety, and the Colts don't have a great safety, but the Colts also have a great linebacker in Darius Leonard, and the Titans don't have a linebacker as good as Darius Leonard. So their personnel, their team is very similar, but I don't really trust Carson Wentz, and that's what holds me back from the Colts. And I get
last week you were just praising Carson Wentz.
No, I said it's a conversation. Because with similar, I said between
that was the Wentz and Dak debate.
I said between him and Dak, it's a conversation. Because when Wentz is given a good supporting cast, he is a similar quarterback production-wise. But we have never seen Carson Wentz in a playoff game play a full playoff game. We saw him once, but then he got out because he was concussed. We've never seen him play a full playoff game. The only year we can look back to is 2017, but he got injured and Nick Foles led that team to the Super Bowl. I'm not sure what I'm getting from Wentz in the playoffs. Because of that, I trust Tennessee just a bit more. But I do think the Titans, now that they're getting Derrick Henry, I mean, this could be a Super Bowl contender, and I was wrong for counting them out earlier in the season. I didn't understand how great of a coach Mike Vrabel was. I didn't understand how resilient and how much of a man Ryan Tannehill was. That guy's been, look, he's had his turnovers this season. He hasn't been what he's been in 2020 or in 2019, but he's been tough. He's been tough. He's been American made. That's what I could say about him. He's getting sacked a lot. I mean, this guy's getting hit every play. And I was on Titans Reddit the other day, and they were talking about how they might have ruined Tannehill because Tannehill is so shell-shocked from all the hits he's taken this season. He's regressed. There's no doubt about that. But I still believe in the Titans more than the Colts. And I'm not sold on the Colts because I think Carson Wentz is not a quarterback that can perform in high leverage moments.
This is a very interesting debate because now we're seeing King Henry come to the Tennessee Titans lineup. And all along, I've been very adamant that you bring Derrick Henry back onto the squad, things get interesting. I always said it throughout the entirety of this season. If Titans are healthy, they're a great competitive team. They could beat anyone. Now, I also have said that if the Colts play the Titans for a third time this season, I do believe the Colts come out on top. First meeting they had was ugly. Tennessee washed them. That's when the Colts were playing some of their worst football this season. Then they meet up a second time. A way better game. One of the better games this season. 34-31. Tennessee comes out on top. Colts showed great strides in their progression throughout the season in that game specifically. You had JT be dominant. You had Carson Wentz show a good performance. I do believe that if they do play a third time, that the Colts will win. Now, that's if they meet first round. Who knows how things will – well, right now we're looking at Titans who probably are going to be or possibly are going to be the number one seed in the AFC. So that would mean the Colts have to win a playoff game. And the way things are going now, Colts would probably have to play the Chiefs or the Patriots. I do believe – or excuse me, are the Bills right now number
They play the Bengals if they were to play right now. They would play the Bengals.
And that would be a great game personally. If we're looking at just what happened week 17 – people are just immediately going to say, well, the Colts don't stand a chance. How do you lose to the Raiders? That's a game that you should have easily had in your back pocket. But we're not putting out the fact that John Madden did unfortunately pass away, and we didn't speak about him at all. And I wanted to take a moment to give him his due diligence, what he meant to the game, what he meant to the NFL, what he meant to the Oakland Raiders, now Las Vegas Raiders organization. He'll be greatly missed. One of the great minds in football history. We'll never see another John Madden. His impact that he had off the field as well. One of the great commentators of the game. He became one of the founders of Madden, the video game, and how that game has completely changed sports entertainment as a whole. So rest in peace, John Madden. You'll be greatly missed, and we appreciate everything you did for football. Now, to go into this game, the Raiders weren't going to lose this game after John Madden passed away. This game was for John Madden. Now, Derek Carr looked shaky to start this game, but second half, how we've been praising Derek Carr for what he can do in the clutch moments, he did exactly that this Sunday. In the fourth quarter, he came into that with one touchdown, 2 INTs, just under 200 yards, and he came in, he was lights out in that fourth quarter. Down the stretch, he made big throw after big throw. That one over the top to Hunter Renfrow was special. Hunter Renfrow, I need to give him his credit as well. Hunter Renfrow is a problem. He is a great wide receiver, and I do believe that he can be a wide receiver one for the Raiders. That being said, they were never going to lose this game for John Madden. I think that they had a motive that they realized they needed to get done with all the things that have gone wrong for the Raiders this season. You just add the passing of John Madden to that. Now they're amped up even more because you have people like me who are saying that the Raiders are down and out. I'm fading them the rest of the season. They've come and completely shut me up these last 2 weeks, picking up a great win against my Broncos, picking up a great win right now against the Indianapolis Colts, who are one of the hotter teams in the NFL. And they put that to bed. They came and they slayed the Colts. Didn't do a great job of stopping Jonathan Taylor as he had over 100 yards rushing. But Carson Wentz had a chance to win this game for them, even with all that being said. Carson Wentz missed a couple throws, and to a degree, I agree with what you guys are saying, that you can't truthfully trust Carson Wentz in these high-leverage situations, but we haven't seen it yet. So I'm not ready to be out or be in yet, but I do still think that the Colts have a team that can compete. I think this was a tough week for them. They got caught with their pants down, and the Raiders took full advantage of that. I still have faith in the Colts. In terms of Colts versus Titans, if they were to meet again, I will take the Colts. And I know I did pick the Colts to go to the Super Bowl. It is what it is.
You walking back on that?
They still could go. No, they still could go to the Super Bowl.
Is that your pick though?
And I'm not going to go back because, hey, I say it's pick a side. I live and die. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But there's still facts to prove that. Jonathan Taylor has been the best running back in the league. They have one of the better secondaries in the league. They have one of the best linebackers in the league. They have one of the best defensive tackles in the league in DeForest Buckner. They have one of the best rush blocking offensive lines in the league. And in a field where there aren't too many great rush offenses right now outside of if Tennessee does get Derrick Henry back and the Bengals with Joe Mixon, but we've seen Joe Mixon be stopped this season. We haven't seen Jonathan Taylor be stopped since week 4 against Miami or whenever they played Miami. I'm pretty sure I'm right with week 4. So in that sense of things, it's not so much that they need to rely on Carson Wentz to get it done. They have all the intangibles to still get it done outside of the quarterback position. We've seen a team where if like Joel, he's not too high on Jimmy G, and there's been valid reason to understand his point of view there. But we've seen where a quarterback doesn't need to be the best or the main piece in an offense and still have the capability to go to a Super Bowl. You had Raheem Mostert, who was one of the most dominant players that postseason run and was an integral part in San Fran's offense of them getting to the Super Bowl, especially what he did to the Packers. So I look at that, and I still think the Colts do have a strong chance to go to the Super Bowl. I don't look at one team specifically in the AFC and just think that they're a clear dominant favorite. I just look at what the Colts give me and what they have over the rest of the teams on the field in the AFC and still think they could go.
It would be hard. It is hard to beat a team twice. This question was, who do you trust more, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Because trust, sure, the Titans. But if they're playing, it is very hard. 2 times, 3 times to be a divisional opponent it doesn't happen often.
Wait, so you're picking the Colts too?
No, I trust the Titans more. But I was just making sure because if they match up, it's a bit of a different question. If the
question is, if they match up in the playoffs, Colts Titans, who are you taking?
If I'm getting Derrick Henry, I'm taking the Titans. I'm getting Derrick Henry.
See, that's my thing too, because in terms of trusting and like you just look at what the Titans have done consistently over these last years. I have to say I trust the Titans more. Sure, they've been a model of consistency over these last couple of years. Mike Vrabel is one of the best head coaches, one of the most untalked about head coaches in our league. I mentioned it throughout the last couple of weeks of what he's been able to do with what he's been dealt has been amazing. That being said, if they match up, I cannot see the Colts losing the third time. I really can't.
Tom will tell in that scenario. Tom will tell when talking about that scenario. Hopefully they do meet up in the playoffs, and we'll see if your Colts make it past them and make it to the Super Bowl. I mean, that's your pick, so let's see what happens with the Indianapolis Colts.
Hold on now, because we have my pick, right? And we're going to single that out. So let me hear your guys' pick.
I'm not ready yet. I'm going to make it next week. Next week, the playoffs start. We're going to give our predictions. I will make my pick next week.
Me too, bro. Me too.
All right, no.
I mean, I've been on KC for a minute now, but.
I mean, that's so easy. Like, wow, that's so hard.
Listen,
such a difficult
it is.
Choice. Kansas
but, bro,
City.
you want me to. And I've given my 2 sleepers, the Chargers and the Colts.
And now you're fading off the Colts. Interesting. I'm keeping my eye on
I said they're my sleeper. They've always been my sleeper. Casey's my pick, but my 2 sleepers are the Chargers and the Colts.
We know the title of the show. The title of the show is Pick a Side, and I'm waiting for you guys. I'm waiting.
You know my sleeper was the Patriots, and I've been on them since like week 6.
And how do you feel about that?
I feel great. I feel awesome. Yes, I feel awesome. Yes.
Would you be surprised if they got bounced in the first round? Because I wouldn't.
I wouldn't, but I wouldn't be surprised if they made the AFC Championship or Super Bowl.
I would be surprised. If they made it to Super Bowl, I'd be stunned.
Mac Jones, Mac Attack, baby. That's all I got to say.
It wouldn't be because of him.
He'd be a big reason why.
No, he'd be a reason, maybe. Not a big, no way.
We understand you're not fond of Mac Jones because he takes away from because Mac Jones is a direct threat to Tua being the worst quarterback amongst all Alabama quarterbacks that are currently starting in the NFL.
Jalen Hurts?
Jalen Hurts is better than Tua.
Yeah. Wow. I'm so happy, man. I was on the show like week 4 saying that.
I mean, I've been saying it. It's Mac, it's Hurts, it's Tua. we were all taking Tua last.
Hurts made the playoffs first year as a starter.
All right,
Tua
let's
didn't.
go.